Welcome to another edition of But That's Not Important Right Now with me, Ian Reed, and...
It isn't. And me, Jarrod Butts. Yes. Two guys who used to work in an ad industry. Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, my
What?
God. Oh, the ad industry. Oh.
Yeah. And we loved it so much that we just can't help but talk about it.
Oh my God.
Pretty much the same way Vietnam War veterans couldn't help but talk about their experiences.
Okay, so we got some comments from the last show. One of them being that we are sounding like we're still in the bathroom. But we got some technical advice from Ramon Castillo, who is a radio producer who used to work with us at the agency as well. I nearly said the agency's right. Name. And he's one of his pieces of advice was, don't talk about people.
Do not mention names.
Do not mention names. You know, people sensitive.
Talk about the experiences, but don't mention the names, which is what, well, in all honesty, we haven't done anything like that. We haven't mentioned names except the names of ourselves and, of course, Ramon. But no, we haven't really mentioned.
We've mentioned a couple of names of our friends who are okay with it.
Yeah.
What one of the other comments was, why don't we do more like how we are on Facebook? And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be antagonistic towards you, Jarrod. Because when we're on Facebook, it's pecan. There's a lot of pecan. So we could...
there's a lot of pecan taking place and a lot of... Yeah, that's true.
We could do a little bit, but I'm not going to call you an old redneck, whatever, on a podcast. And I
wouldn't call you a half-breed so-and-so. I mean, I would never do that. No.
Oh, so racist. You are so racist. you goddamn Spanish wannabe from Carnage. All right, so we've done that. We have done that, right?
We've done that before.
So, just some of the other comments have been that they like the stories. I mean, some of them. The last episode was not as well received because of the kind of production values. But it wasn't so much the material, what we were talking about, but the sound quality itself. Well, the material too, but the sound quality was kind of
dodgy,
a little off. But that's my fault. But which is why we're going to be using this Zoom instead of using what we were doing before.
Right.
One of the things was that we were a little bit heavy on the last episode. We went into a little bit heavy, and we went. Somebody was, oh my God, it's too long. I'm like, I don't really care about the length, but I understand, So again, if you're listening, and welcome to the show, thank you for listening. But if you want, you can just skip forward. Right. We are just going to talk, but this episode we're going to try to do something different. We're going to try to bring. Well, first of all, we're going to try to bring back in the structure that we had before. And I have a whole bunch of ideas for the last couple of days. Oh, and we're also late because our guest was only available today. So we're going to be publishing a little later today. Not that it matters, but we have a guest today. And we're going to try and see how that works out with this particular recording. But one of the comments was that we're too serious, and we need to loosen up a little bit, and we need to be less.
Oh, you want to include levity into the thing? Got it.
We're too much like an interview situation. We need to be more conversational, and I think we got that down the first time we did it. When we first did the first episode, please go and listen to the first episode. That's the one about Coca-Cola. No, wait. Was it? No, the
second one was about Coca-Cola.
The second one was about Coca-Cola, right?
Yeah.
The first one is about the reverb, because we had a lot of reverb in the first episode.
Yeah, we had a lot of reverb, yeah.
Right.
That was the first one.
So our audience dropped a little bit on the second episode because we got a little less views. We went from 33 plays to about 28 plays. So that is not too bad. We do have our loyal listeners. We do have our loyal listeners. We want to shout out to Stefan, you jackass.
You can quantify that. What is wrong with you?
He knows. Stefan is not in advertising, but he is struggling with his. Stefan has launched his own company, and we want to wish him well. He is.
Yes, that takes a lot of balls. That takes a lot of balls.
We are in a. So one of the other things that we have decided not to do is talk about the unspecified unknown virus from an unknown country. Right? So we're not going to talk about that, but in the vein of what's going on with the rest of the world and the country, things are a little frightening. So we want to inject a little bit of escapism,
humor, levity.
We're not gonna talk about these serious things. And one of the things that we do want to do is we want to present an ad. Now I have as I said, I have a lot of ideas. One of the ideas came up to me was I don't think people really understand the ad industry. Meaning that they back in the day no one did it, but nowadays I don't think they actually do. I think things have changed so much that I think what they just know is the ad industry is somebody who just posts on Facebook. They just inbox surprise. That is ad industry for them. You post you post a pack of underwear and tell people inbox surprise. I am telling you, the amount of times that I have seen these three things pop up for sale on Facebook. 1, for sale, slightly used mattress.
Ooh, yeah. You don't want to have a slightly used mattress in your life. Not with all that DNA lying about. No, you don't need that.
$500 or next available offer, inbox for price.
So I'm going to spend $500 on a piece of foam that may or may not have some telltale signs of DNA and bears a striking resemblance to a Jackson Pollock painting. I think not.
Just blue light that crap. Just blue light it and go, oh my God. The other thing is property. Property being sold and for rent. And there's some apartments that people are that are advertising that you would wonder who would want to live in a place like this. I mean, there was a property for rent for $3,500 in St. James. And the toilet is under the stairs without a door.
Holy Shatner, really?
And the toilet opens out into the whole, and they're calling it cozy living area.
Cozy? Cozy? If I wanted to be any cozier, I'd be sleeping in a coffin right now. That's not crazy.
Right? So somebody commented and said, oh, at least put a curtain over the bathroom, the toilet. It's not even a shower, it's just a toilet. The toilet
oh my God.
In the kitchen.
Ay. That, wow.
And then the third is the Wish kind of products. Right? The Wish kind of product. You know what Wish is, right? Wish.com. I'm sure you've seen
Wish.com.
Wish.com advertises.
Is that like the poor man's Amazon or something? I don't know.
Very much so. It's a Chinese I think it's a Chinese company that sells. But it's not even just knockoffs. There's some very, very, very strange products. I'm trying to remember some of them, but most of them have to do with bodily functions. And you're like, why is this on my feed? So again, what is advertising? Advertising is
legalized lying. Yeah, no, what?
But that's not important right now. Advertising is all right. You define advertising. Well, apart from what you just said, you tell.
Okay. Advertising, in a nutshell, is just highlighting a product and the attributes of that product, and to entice the prospective buyer to want to purchase this particular product, and that if you do that, you will be somehow a step above the rest of everybody else. Advertising is like an appeal to one's individuality, that you are not like everybody else. This is something that you need to have. Or it can go the other way. It can say, hey, you want to be a part of the happy crowd? So why don't you get this detergent or buy this toothpaste?
It's aspirational. It's aspirational.
Yes, exactly. Aspirational. There we are. So that's what advertising is supposed to do. But as was mentioned before, advertising is also about selling emotion, whether that emotion is love, fear, lust, whatever it is. And it appeals to our senses. It appeals to our instincts, sometimes our baser instincts. And that pretty much is what it is. Advertising is also about making the product interesting. Why would you want to buy this product? Why would you think that this is different from the rest of them? How is it going to benefit you? Because remember, you've got people with disposable income and they're going to part with their hard-earned dollars. How are we going to do that? How are we going to perfect that? It's got to be done in such a way that it becomes irresistible. And you look at it and you say, no, you can't help yourself. I just have to have this. But the reality of the situation is the best form of advertising, even today, is word of mouth. For example, you were talking about a particular brand of chocolate. It has a new flavor. I have not tried it yet. But from what I've gathered, the general consensus among most is that this chocolate really tastes great. It's got a great infusion of coffee, and just it is like seventh heaven to some people. So you know what? I may just go ahead and purchase the chocolate myself pretty soon. Which is interesting in the sense that very rarely, if ever, do we as Trinidadians, because we Trinidadians, we tend to gravitate towards more of the foreign stuff, especially when it comes to the edible things like chocolate or rice or potato chips or whatever it is.
Rice?
Like basmati rice or something like that.
Oh.
Or brown rice, Uncle Ben's. You want to go on a health kick, that kind of thing. That's what I'm trying to get at. I know rice is just like so random to come up with.
Rice is very random. Random rice. It
is quite random. So random rice. Random rice. So that's the kind of spiel, if you will, that advertisers dole out on a regular basis. And that still, like I said, the best form of advertising is word of mouth. Now the thing is, the trick behind it is, if you're going to write, because you've been in advertising far longer than I have, but in the 8.5 years that I worked as a copywriter at the agency as a senior writer, you need to come up with a real good killer script. And sometimes that killer script will help you attract a lot of kudos and a lot of accolades, maybe even an award or two in the process. But the thing about it is, once you're doing this, once you are writing an ad, you've got to write it in such a way that whoever's reading it, and I'm referring specifically to radio. If you're doing a radio ad and it's a killer script, but if you have somebody who is unconvincing and can't act on that script, you're still in with a chance. You could still it's still possible that script will become a killer radio ad. But on the other hand, if it's a poorly written script, not even the best voices in the business can save it. And you can try damn hard, but you're not going to get the kind of the kind of traction that you were looking for when your original intent was to come up with what you thought was a killer ad.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think not many people know that the guy who was in Hogan's Heroes read a couple of radio scripts for Angostura Bitters way back in the, when was it?
That's Bob.
Bob Crane, right?
Bob Crane, who played, that was back in December of 1962. Yeah.
Right. And that's on YouTube. And I mean, that's really well done reading. I mean, because the guy is a trained actor, he has a voice or whatever. And that, you don't hear those kind of things anymore. Moving forward in time, I shared on my Facebook page the ad for FedEx with this fast speaking voice. What's his name?
John Machida, right?
Well, John Machida. And John Machida, I always remember that ad. That was one of there's a documentary called Art and Copy that if you do get a chance to get a copy of that, do a search for it. It talks about advertising up until just before social media hits the scene. So it's at that transference between when I started getting heavy into advertising and social media had not even been invented yet. So it was at that period where the internet was around, but it was still, being used as a sales pitching situation. It's just like, that's how media was. I think in our local situation, a lot of the clients just wanted to be, jingle this and jingle that. Everything was a jingle, so right. There was less speaky and more singy, which is fine because we're that kind of country where we gravitate towards more, musical things, the singing part of it. But just to come back to what an agency is. So how an agency works is this. The client comes with the brief and says, look, we need to sell more units of X. Brand X needs to be sold. Before social media, you would put an ad in the paper, you would put an ad on the radio, you put an ad on TV, you put a billboard out there, you'd fix something in the store, you'd do a little promotion, and that would be the formula. The formula would be that the agency internally the account executive would get the brief from the client, give it to the traffic department. The traffic department would then give it to the team or whoever it is. The creative director would then listen to what the team had to pitch in the form of a couple of ideas because they brainstormed the ideas. And then usually that had a radio. The radio is what kind of sparked the rest of the creative. So the guy would write a radio, the copywriter would write a radio, and the art department, the art directors would go away and try to realize that or try to visualize how we would do that visually. All that has been thrown out the window. We don't do that anymore. Right. What we do is we come up with a headline and we create a visual, and then they tell you write a jingle. So, I mean, I don't know if you remember any fun jingles that you remember doing. I mean, what was the funnest jingle you?
Oh God, there was a time before I worked at the agency that you were working at. Mm-hmm. I was at another agency for a brief period of time, and we were supposed to do something for blocks, construction blocks.
Ah, yes. And I know who that is. We all know who that is. Yeah. We also know who's in charge of that. This is just effing blocks. Don't make it up.
Yeah.
Don't make it art. Yeah. It's just effing blocks.
He was quite, let's just say that he was quite recombinant with the effing epithets and what have you.
I have to now go and look that word up.
Well, anyway, here's how it all unfolded. Now we were trying to come up with something funny, and I could not, for the life of me, I tried damn hard to come up with something that I thought would have been funny and memorable. Mm-hmm. But the thing about it is there were so many technical aspects behind the block that had to be mentioned, how it contributes to structural integrity and these blocks are long lasting and durable and la-di-da, 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 you know? Mm-hmm. So I thought, you know what, if I say this, because one of the rules in writing copy for radio is this: if you're going to write an ad, for the love of Christ, do not write it in such a way, because normal people, regular people, don't talk the way you're writing. Oh, these meals are nutritious and fun for the whole family. Nobody. Not in any nobody, not in any universe, certainly not in this one, talks like that.
Yeah.
You just don't. So anyway, the thing about it is we were given the brief, and I thought to myself, wouldn't it be great if we just came up with a jingle? Yeah. And we did it in such a way that it sounded more like one of those army instruction type songs, you know. I don't know, but I've been told rubber sheets are hard to fold. That kind of
good old marine chant.
Yeah, good old marine kind of thing, right? So what I did was I came up with a melody and I came up with the lyrics for it and went da 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 da. We did that, and within a day, the client approved it, and I was genuinely surprised. Because I thought we mentioned everything about the block. We mentioned the structural integrity. We mentioned the toughness. We mentioned how it was down to specification, how it was approved and tested, and we came up with all the technical aspects of it. And it was mentioned in that jingle, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter. The thing about it is, it was catchy. It was memorable. People loved it, and they went with it. Yeah. And
yeah, because it taps into something primal in you.
Yeah,
the rhythm, the wording. You know, that's why clients love jingles, because it's something that you the emotional hook of it is that it sticks in your head. It's an earworm. That's the word.
It's supposed to. That's what's supposed to do. Yeah,
it's an earworm. So that's something that radio does that a visual press ad or even a post on Facebook doesn't do. Now we're in the age of video where everybody's doing videos, especially now with TikTok. So what is happening now with TikTok is that they're taking what people say, like people are recording things or pieces of music or whatever, and people are lip syncing themselves to it on TikTok. All right, so I don't know if you know TikTok, but that's
which is cool. I mean, I know about TikTok. I've seen TikTok. I know what TikTok. Yeah, what TikTok entails and everything. No, I ain't that old. Jesus Christ, Jarrod.
I am not that old. Damn it! What is your problem?
On a side note, my friend, she says, "Yeah, I'm turning 40 this year," and she kept going on about how she's turning 40. I'm like, could you stop? You're not old. Right? Because I'm 45, I'm going to be 46. I don't feel old. Anyway, that's
neither do I. I'm 50 and I'm going to be 51 later this year.
Congratulations.
This close. I am this close to recognizing my own mortality. And oh God, it's all light.
Could you please put your teeth back in your face?
Oh, sorry. Hold on a minute.
Sorry about that.
So before we get to the next part of this,
yes,
I was going to say that the TikTok people have pulled into this idea, the brands, that if they jump on this bandwagon of using somebody else's content to further their own content, that has become the norm. Right. So, I mean, I don't want to go into all of that. I want to stick with radio. But the thing about TikTok is that it's so easy to just laugh at it, but you forget it like a few minutes after you watch it.
A few minutes after. Yeah, the misdirection of the intent of the behind the product.
Right. So the idea of advertising, especially in radio, is that you need to hear this over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
to get it.
Mm-hmm. It's repetition, yes, and I mean that is the reason. I mean that's one of the reasons why Sesame Street was so successful, because what they did was that they took, because of the creators of Sesame Street, namely Joan Gans Cooney and Lloyd Morissette, what they did, they realized that kids were reciting beer commercials because of the endless repetition, and they figured that if it could work for advertising, why, if advertising beer could register within a child's mind, why can't we do the same thing with letters of the alphabet and numbers? Mm-hmm. And that was an ingenious concept. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's all well and good for you to watch a TikTok, and you can always go back to the TikTok and say, well, hey, there's something on TikTok that I just saw, and I think it's pretty good. And yeah you'll get a lot of reach. You may get a lot of reach for it, but would you want to know? Can you remember? Can you recall the product? Can you recall the product? And most can't. Because it didn't mention the name of the brand. I mean, if you're talking about let's go back to the late 1940s, and they had a jingle that went like this: "You'll wonder where all that yellow went when you brush your teeth with Pepsodent, Pepsodent, Pepsodent." They got it. Yeah. So we can learn a thing or two. We can learn a thing or two from our antecedents, if you will, with respect to traditional advertising. All right. Not that I'm knocking modern advertising. Okay, let me hasten to add. It has its uses, and there's sometimes, but you got to be. But I think sometimes people are working too hard to make it, to cram all the information that you need into 5 to 10 seconds, and that's just not how it works.
I mean, at different levels. One of the things is right now we're hiring a lot of these, apart from the influencers, we're hiring a lot of these internet celebrities, internet people who have so last year we had A is for asshole. This is a guy who's actually a teacher who went and just started doing these TikToks, these short 10-second TikToks, and suddenly got this contract to do advertising for people. And it didn't last too long. I haven't seen him out recently. But the idea was, well, if people are watching him, they could watch him and listen to and hear about our product. But it doesn't work all the time. The one that I remember was the Slap Chop guy, way back in 2015 when the Slap Chop guy came out. The Trini version, the guy who did the Trini version of Slap Chop.
All right.
Our creative director,
that was fun.
Our creative director says, okay, we're going to get a viral of this and we're going to make this Trini Slap Chop guy work for our brand. And there were hundreds of comments of people saying, man, how he sell out. So it kind of,
it goes against the
Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to go too much into that. What I want to do is I want to actually now bring in our guest. He's been waiting for a while.
Our special guest star.
Our special guest. But that's so important. Oh my God, we have a guest, and this is not even a call-in show. No, what is a guest, Jarrod?
What is a guest? A guest is somebody who appears on our show and hopes to make a valuable contribution to it. But that's not important right now. All
right, so we're gonna bring in Tracy Jonathan Hutchings, who is a dear friend of ours.
Jonathan Hutchings. Are you sure he's not a serial killer?
Tracy is a copywriter who works for one of the other agencies. Tracy had come into the agency when I was there, based on a program that we started where we were trying to bring in young talent.
Hey, Tracy.
Nowadays, I would think it being what's the word? Exploitative. Nowadays, I would think it exploitative. But in those days, we're looking for interns. It was essential interns, and Tracy and another girl named Candice became copywriters at the agency. And he's done very, very well for himself. He has his own channel, which he does movie reviews and all kind of other cool, weird stuff. Tracy, your last video that you did with Iota was brilliant. I loved it. I want what's the name of the channel? The channel is...
Well, it's literally under my name right now. So you can just basically go online and look for Tracy Hutchings, Tracy J Hutchings on YouTube. But the video is called Till the Tank Runs Dry.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it, but I'm going to take a look at it now.
Yeah. Now, Tracy is doing this movie review thing on the side, but his main business is still writing copy for the agency. We couldn't do Tuesday, our usual Tuesday session, because he had a staff meeting, and Tracy was very happy about his staff meeting. So he's like, "No, I can't do it." All right. So what we want to do is I want to play an ad.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about radio. I know, Tracy, you've probably been listening. We want to play a radio. I wanted to do this last week, but I figured, having a guest, and the two of you all are writers. I think next time we're going to probably bring somebody else who's on the other side of the creative. But
right.
I think writers are the spearhead of the creative. They're the ones who get the most flack from various creative directors. Because as we had mentioned before, they used to write the radio ad first, and that used to be the idea. You don't really do... I mean, in my position right now as a freelancer, that's not happening for me. But within the realm of an agency, I don't know if that's still happening. I don't know if you're still being tasked to write a radio, and then afterwards they kind of fill out all the other things after. Like, oh yeah, we can make a visual of this. I don't know if... So Tracy, what is it? Well, how is it working right now, especially in the times of the unspecified virus from the unspecified country?
Oh my God. Well, actually, first of all, thanks for having me here. This is awesome sauce. And secondly, in terms of how this whole production thing does, it's kind of a mixed bag. So you will find that you'll get, like now you get the brief, because most times than not, clients want to go digital as opposed to traditional. You will start fleshing out the concepts first for, okay, how does this work in digital? But you will more or less have an idea as to how you would want to play it out on ATL, that's above the line. So radio definitely, and video, and I say video, not TV, because video could be cinemas back when we had cinemas, and that kind of stuff. But radio is still very much up there. It's not so much anymore the idea of do the radio first and then the other pieces will fall in line. It's wherever the idea is best suited first, we're going to play inside that. And then again, some clients I have realized are like, yes, radio is good, but you know what? The millennials, ... So the millennials, ... will be on whatever, Instagram or something. I can't begin to tell you how I despise the term millennials now, given how many times they've said it. But anyway.
What is a millennial? I always ask.
Here's my quick thing on that. Because there's always a chart that I get from one or two of my awesome groovy people, and go online and look. Technically speaking, millennials, because right now there's a term geriatric millennials. So millennials technically start from 1981. So when you are like most millennials are turning 40 this year, a la me. But you also have... Thank you very much. I don't consider this year to be a year, so I'm technically still 38.
Very good. All right, go on.
But my big thing is that when they say millennials, I feel generally what they're talking about is the Gen Zers. Tell me that you are trying to get a hold of the 19 to 21 or 15 to 21, depending on the brand, type of people, and I'll understand that. But they use the word millennials as a band-aid or to bandy about the idea of we need to reach a whole bunch of young people. And these young people are not just young people, but these are young people who may also be in their first job, but they're also thinking of leaving their first job to enhance their career on their second job, but they're millennials who now are married. That is actually, that's a brief, in a real world. But yeah, so in terms of all that swings back around to, in terms of radio, it's just, honestly, these days, it really is just, okay, what's on the brief? The brief is let's do digital. We're doing 6 digital pieces, and we want to do one main press ad because the client still thinks that maybe we should do a press ad. Let's do a radio. Sometimes you might find that the client may not necessarily even add a radio inside, but you knowing the reach of it, the potential reach of it, you may subscribe to the idea of let's do a radio. Like me, I really do love doing radios more than doing anything else, to be honest. So then you put that out there and see where it goes.
Yeah. All right, that's good. Great. So what I want to do is I want to play a radio here. But I wanted to do a couple of weeks ago, but I say, it's perfect for both of you. I don't know, Tracy, I don't know if you heard this radio. Jarrod, you must have seen me share this on Facebook. I don't know, because, but anyway.
I might have.
All right. It's from last month. A friend of mine, Dennis is a videographer, so maybe I might bring Dennis in one of these days to talk about his side. Dennis is really cool. He does a lot of great video stuff. Dennis posted this and said, "What the hell are you doing? Stop! Please stop!" So I'm gonna play the radio. We're shared on Facebook. Now you see, this is the thing. It's a radio that they put as a video with a static image on Facebook and share it. So when we're talking about whether or not the lines are blurred so much now that they would just take a radio and plunk it on Facebook without any sort of strategic plan. It's just like, oh, we did a radio, let's just put it everywhere. But,
well, not to cut you, but sometimes, depending on how it's done, and we can talk execution and some of the crap that goes on in this country, but sometimes a radio, especially in terms of like a jingle, has so much legs that you could do a lyric video, so to speak. And so you get the animator to come on and do, maybe do either a flip card version of a TV ad, which is basically take the images and flip it, and you have all this kind of randomness. Or you can do something a little bit more like a kinetic video, kinetic text kind of something where you're seeing all the words doing all the dabbles, where you can still, long story short, take the audio from the radio, the lyrics, whatever it is like that, and use it en masse. So the problem is that sometimes people tend to be like, that's a simple solution, let's do it. And either the video doesn't work, or maybe the radio ad of itself, first to begin, does not even connect. So now you're putting it on a platform like social media portals, and you just end up spending top in one.
Yeah. All right, let me play it, and you all tell me what you all think.
Auntie, kids, let's go for ice cream.
Yes, thanks, Mom.
Gracie boy, what happened to the ice cream? It's all melted.
Oh, no.
You ain't called Fridge Boys? Bigelow told me about them,
I remember them. It's 319-8333. And they does repair on spot.
Thank you, Quasiana.
Nope. I have thoughts. I have thoughts. I actually have some notes that I kind of scribbled on, like, and this radio ad fits into these notes, like the major scenes that we have in here, the types of radio ads that we have in the Caribbean, and that kind of stuff. And then it leads into like why radio ads fail. I have some thoughts. I have some thoughts.
When I heard this the first time, when I first heard this, I'm like, nah. And you could tell they did it, and you could tell they did it home. It's like us. It's like we got an idea, let's just execute it, which is fine. There's nothing wrong per se with the idea. You think? I don't know, but I'm confused. The first thing that confused me is, what exactly are you selling? No, what you're selling? What are you selling? What are you selling? Why would you jump in the car and then talk about the refrigerator not working?
Well, here's the issue that I have with that radio ad, and how that sort of fits into the wider aesthetic of scenes that's going on. The problem that I've had in the 20 years, 2001 to 2021, the 20 years that I have been in advertising is that everybody thinks that they can write a radio ad.
And not everyone can.
And not everyone can. And this means that the client, the radio station, the DJs, everybody, I mean, like, and this is on a side, but like I've heard some party ads that are sheer noise. I have no idea what the concept of the party is. I don't know what's going on. So, I mean, like literally everybody. But the problem is everybody thinks they can write an ad. And what you have happening is especially with something like that, that sounds to me almost like either the client, let's play this out. Let's say the client maybe did not have a budget and therefore wrote it themselves or went to, and no offense to radio stations, because there are people who work within the radio stations themselves who actually have, really good ideas and know how to execute it and that kind of stuff. But they may have gone to someone within the radio station, or they may have decided to go directly to the production house with a little scribble of an idea that they have, and it wasn't fully recognized because they think that they can just write the radio ad themselves. Let's just do it ourselves. It'll save us on money and it'll save us on time, and we can do that. So that's the first real thing that happens. The second randomness that I've noticed is that in terms of radio ads in the Caribbean, because this ad doesn't sound intrinsically Trinidadian. So that tells me that it's either, it may have been an ad in one of the Caribbean territories or something of the sort. But the problem, one of the things that we have here that we love to do in the Caribbean, and especially in Trinidad, is these conversational ads, which then leads into kind of like, for true, good. I went down the road.
Yes.
You didn't hear the latest.
The Price Smart ad drives me crazy when I hear it. The Price Smart ad drives me crazy.
There's a Price Smart?
Really? All that? Where it's on 103. I heard it's on 103. Basically, is where you going with all this stuff in the car? The girl I just went Price Smart is literally the same ad that we had when Raymond Chukong and them were doing. Remember that TV ad?
And they did it for another brand
or whatever it is.
Yeah, they did it for another brand.
Same execution. Where are you going with all that stuff?
Exactly. So it's one of the hilarities that I always find with conversations. Not to say that conversational ads are not good. I have written a few of themselves, and even a few of mine have been horrible. But I'm not going to lie. But the scene with conversational ads, because everybody can write their own ad. When you do a conversation ad, it usually ends up with one of the characters, as you guys were saying early when I first logged in. People don't inherently speak the way that the script is written, or the way how the client envisions that the script should be.
Exactly.
So,
it can.
Oh, go ahead, finish.
No, I'm sorry, Trace. No, what I meant to say is that it can go either way. You can either come up with a conversation that is inauthentic in that it sounds stilted, false, and really it has nothing to do with how regular people speak in the Caribbean. It has nothing to do with that.
All right.
And then on the other hand,
go on. On
the other hand, you could slide into cliches, like you said, and people come up with these hackneyed explanations for true, for real, yeah, boy, and so on. So yeah.
No, okay. So give me, you guys. We're not going to go into in-depth analysis of this thing, this ad.
But we should.
I want to. Yeah, we should. But I would like now, maybe, which is the meat of, but that's not important. That's not important right now. What's important? No. What I want to know is, does this spark any remembrance of something in your past, specifically, where you had an ad that you knew, okay, maybe that's not it, but did you ever write an ad like this? Were you ever forced to write an ad like this? Do you have an example of being forced to write an ad like this and knowing what would happen next? And it was so bad, it was good. You know, that people laughed at it and people were like, boy, this is real funny and whatever. But you know that the crap you went through to get this ad to the point that it is was from the point of writing it to the point of being approved. I don't mean production. I didn't even have to have an ad that went to final production. But is there ever an example of you going to a person question and saying, I have this great radio ad, and the person then proceeds to tell you, no, I want it written this way? Is there any example that you can give of a story?
I'll give you a generic one, and then I will give you a specific one without specifics. So generic one. There was a brand that I was working on, and it's a butter brand. Let's call it that. And because this is a brand that is claiming to be healthy and is part of breakfast and all this kind of thing, as butter and margarine and all that kind of stuff tends to be, they had a slew of information that they wanted to put into the radio ad. And so what happens is you have in your idea a balance in your mind, a balance between what is situational, theatrical, and what can sell, as well as all the necessary information, maybe not necessarily all, because the problem that we have here as well is that you have clients who want all 30 seconds of the ad, because you're only paying for 30 seconds, all 30 seconds of the ad to basically be an information. And that's not how this works. That's not how the force works. So what happens, what would then happen? What happens then is that you go now and you write it and you send it up the chain, and the client comes back, and from the time you see the please see clients notes below, you kind of like, oh God. And then it becomes set same infomercial, and you still have to go and produce it. And you know fully well that's never going to be in your portfolio. I disavow this ad. I accept the fact that this is a brand that I have to work on, but I disavow it. This is nothing this has no nutritional value, so to speak. I am out of here. So that's the generic one. There's another one that happened to me that kind of makes me cringe as well. So we had a long fight with a client about a type of radio ad that we wanted to do. And this was basically a jingle ad. It was basically a jingle. It was like one line of lyrics, and it was repeated over and over 30 seconds, and it had like rock music, and it was great, and honestly it was produced really well, and it was nice. We had a whole uphill battle with the client because people in the East-West corridor, blah 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 blah, and a whole set of stereotypes. Fine, okay, we went through all of that. Then they decided that, okay, we will let you run that ad, but for phase 2 of the brand, which is basically 2 weeks later, they came up with their own ad where they got 2 radio personalities, 2 very nice, I mean, like these gentlemen in real life are really cool, but 2 really nice radio personalities who are friends to do a radio ad. I'm hearing it in my head. They are at the airport, and they have the package, the product, and one is chewing on the product, and the other one is going to get the product, and the other one is studying to carry it with them because it's so tasty and it's so nice and it have different flavors and all this kind of thing. And you hear this cringe in the radio or on the radio. You're in a taxi, you're on the way down, and you're hearing this, and you're like, people are going to assume that I wrote that because they know that these are the brands I work on. And that is something that legitimately, in terms of talking about being forced to go on with those kinds of ads, it's a conversation. It had no real nutritional value. There was no actual substance. It's just, hey, let's take these 2 well-known radio personalities and give them and let them figure out what they wanted to do with it. And the end result was a thing. That was even worse than how it started. Cringe.
What about you, Jarrod?
Well,
You remember having to do something that you didn't like?
oh yeah, all the time.
You have to be quick because we've come into the end of this thing.
Yeah, we're
I
coming to
just
the end of
wanna
it.
hear- Yeah.
Let me just say that in my personal instance, it happened when we had to write ads for a particular bank, and it was always about trying to be funny and not trying to be so stoic and dead. And but the client was always about specifics, never about trying to make the product more attractive, but just simply do that, and if you don't do it, you're going to get into a lot of trouble. So I figured, all right, let me just churn it out. And but at the end of the day, I felt really disgusted with myself, and I know, really, it was like, I could have had a much more fulfilling experience with a hooker, and I'm serious. It was that bad. That was in terms of that bank brand. Yes. And very quickly, I also did something for a particular product, but it had something to do with almond, to play the word almond, almond love, and I hated every goddamn minute of it. I just wanted to immolate myself on a pyre and just be done with it. But ironically enough, that product no longer exists. So,
that's right.
Maybe there is some justice in the universe after all. So yeah.
All right, good. Guys, this has been a great session. Tracy, you probably want to bring you back again at a later date.
That's fine.
Do something else.
Come back, Tracy.
I just want to close by saying that just on the point of missing the point, we were tasked by an alcohol brand to do a video ad. This is not radio, but do a video ad. And the writer who was working with me came up with this fantastic idea of, being funny with the soca star that they had gotten as their brand person.
Right.
And we were all set ready to shoot this video. And we went right there in not Federation Park, right there in St. Clair. And we were shooting this thing, and it involved the soca star in question getting a flat but didn't have a spare tire and had to take a little tricycle away from a little girl and running down the road trying to drive this tricycle. In the process of doing that, the tricycle broke. It was complete total madness. We shot this thing, we edited it, we put it together. And the soca star himself, who was very cool about it doing it, said, absolutely not, I do not want this put out there. And the client got vexed at us and said, how could you shoot? But the client approved the script. The client approved it, you know? And we were just like, but this is funny, this is good, this is viral stuff. And they're like, no, you can't show him in that light. Now, in person, he is very free and easygoing. In the stage, he's very free and easygoing or whatever. But his management thought that this would destroy his image. So it never saw the light of day. But like I said, it was one of those things when you talk about what you want to do and what actually ends up being done and what is being perceived afterwards. It's like all these people, passing messages along the line. You start off with, let's get ice cream. So, There's a fridge in this house. What the hell?
I didn't know. I just thought you were just talking about, really gloppy ice cream. I didn't know.
Right. So
as luck would have it is a local brand. I went and checked their page and
it is a
local number and stuff. I don't know what to say about that. I will round off my randomness here by just saying this. There are a few reasons why radio ads may fail. It might sound really good on the paper, and by the time you go in the studio, it's like, this is ass, but you're already here and they've already approved this, and it's going to take another 3 weeks before the client sits down. you might have the wrong talent, you might have a very professional voice, but at the same point in time, by the time you go inside, that voice does not have character that you need. I mean, there are a couple other reasons why you would get a stinker, but at the end of the day, for me, it's like not everybody can write radio ads. You as a client, as a person, working on a radio station or whatever, does not mean that you know how to write an ad. I'm not trying to be a snob. I'm just saying this is a reality.
All right. Is either you have the talent or you don't.
Right. It is, the end.
But that's not important.
That's not
important right now.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Thank you very much.
No problem, guys.
Thank you all for listening, and we will be back again next week. So thank you for listening to our podcast. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Anchor.fm, and we're on Spotify. Just search for But That's Not Important right now.